Everyone, we are talking about North Nashville tonight, and particularly the situation following the tornado there, which was just 2 weeks ago. So much has happened in that space of time. Charlane Oliver from Equity Alliance is with us, and also Odessa Kelly from Stand Up Nashville. Thank you, ladies, once again. Started the hour off with a strong conversation. We have Mike here on the line who I want to get to. I always try to get to our callers first. Hi, Mike. Go ahead.
Sure. I really do appreciate what your callers are saying. I understand that there is a Barnes Housing Trust Fund that the city has set up, and that it had some money in it, but it got half of that taken away. I think they lost $5 million because of the shortfall in the city budget.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, how much money do you think ought to be in something like that, in a fund to help nonprofits to really help North Nashville in terms of redevelopment?
Yeah, great question. Mike, I'm going to put you on hold so you can listen to the TV for the answer. Can someone explain the Barnes Fund just so maybe our viewers that don't understand can learn more?
Want me to take it? Yeah. So the Barnes Fund was set up after Reverend, I can't think of his first name, Barnes, who just passed away last year. But basically it was for affordable housing, right? It was to keep people in their homes. What's happening is that, like we said, gentrification has been taking place across the nation. And with that, it's like, how do we keep people who are working class people, those who are poor or who are cost burdened, you know, within the city that they work in? And that's what the Barnes Fund was set up to do. And
it's my understanding that it's something for developers to tap in to make sure, to help them build, and then to ensure that the rates stay affordable in that area.
Yeah, it's just like is a subsidy the right word to use, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
But basically, you know, so that they can, that they can build, still make a profit, and still have, like, I mean, it's a responsible way, you know, to run the city, because not everyone is going to be at the same level. And I don't know the exact fiduciary amount that should be in the account, but it should be triple at least what it was. You know, I think it started out at 9 when Megan Barry initially started the fund. It was down to 5 with that. I mean, yeah, I think that it should easily be $20 or $30 million in there. There are a lot of groups, you know, who are giving $1 million to organizations and with all good intentions, but if we really want to do some lasting change in this community, maybe people will start thinking about, you know, donating your $1 million into the Barnes Fund, so that we have something to pull from.
I think a lot of people don't know about it.
Could be true.
I really, and every guest I've ever had on this show, when this Barnes Fund has come up, they've always said it's so underfunded. Mayor Briley said that quite often, and now with the city and the stretch that it is in, cuts were made.
Compared to some other cities that I know that have, you know, 60, 70, 80 mil, you know, easily $1 million in their fund. Ours is drastic, you know, lower than that. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we should really think about going forward.
So I hear what you're saying is not really coming into play in North Nashville, or paying off.
Not at all. I don't know. I mean, with $9 million at the beginning of the fund, how could it really come into play anywhere, you know? But it definitely should be prioritized for working class communities. And anytime you have a predominantly African American or a community that's people of color, brown, Hispanic, you're definitely going to have a working class community, right? So, but it's not just there. I would say not only North Nashville, but any community where you have working class people should definitely be prioritizing the Barnes Fund to help people get resources they need.
Well, we were in the break, you all said, oh, we got to mention the historical overlay.
I was talking to a homeowner yesterday who's like interested in making sure that North Nashville has one. I know other parts of the city have that to, you know, preserve some of the land there, and so I think that's something that's also on the table in addition to community land trust. So we're definitely interested in working with our local elected officials to see what our options are on the table, to see how we can really help Nashville.
You said that your organization has been around for 3 years, I think. 4 years here. Do you feel like there has been, I mean, that's relatively new. Do you feel like there has been this groundswell in North Nashville for a particular reason in the last few years?
When you say groundswell,
well, just kind of like, you know, we're going to rally, and we're going to stay here. We're going to have the organizations that will show us the way, that will help us as a community.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just at a point in our politics where people are just so frustrated of not seeing change that we're going to just grab it by the bullhorns and do it ourselves. We can't wait on politicians to give us what we need. We're just going to do it, and this is a citizen-led movement. myself and 6 other black women said, you know what, we're going to start this organization because we're not seeing the change in our community. So we want to be the change we want to see. We're going to do it ourselves, and we've been doing it for 3 years. And we have had a significant impact, not only just on Nashville, but on Tennessee, period, in changing the conversation around what it means to be civically engaged.
What do you run up as the biggest misconceptions that you're trying to just, you know, kind of push the boundary on every day?
Well, you know, folks are very apathetic about voting, in period. And so we run into people who just don't believe in the process, especially people that live maybe in North Nashville who like, I have not seen the investments. I keep voting, but, you know, we're not getting sidewalks. We're not getting our schools funded. You know, we're not getting our wage increases. Like, so it's hard to cut through that. But, you know, voting is cultural. It's also contagious. And so we have to like make sure we're checking on our neighbors, because if we're 50th in voter turnout in this state, it's because we think someone else is doing it. And so we're leaving it to someone else. And so we have to make sure that we're all participating. And that's when the process works best, is when we're holding our government officials accountable, especially to this development that's about to come down the pipeline for North Nashville.
And that's how we play off each other. You know, they get people registered to vote, and we tell them the issues that they should be looking at or holding elected officials accountable for. I think that's also a misperception that's happened in the years, which is why there's been such, as you used it, a groundswell, is that for so many years what we called social organizations or charitable services were just doing surface things like giving out food or, you know, some topical way of like, how do I handle youth violence by, you know, some pick up 3-on-3 basketball tournament, not ever getting at the economic systemic root of these issues. And that's exactly what we do. So groups like the Equity Alliance, Stand Up Nashville, you know, Turk, Gideon's Army, you know, we've really been looking at how do we really make lasting change that happens, right? And on top of that too, I mean, look at it now, there are a lot of organizations out here that get a bunch of money, but if you really look beneath the surface of what work are they actually doing to really cause a real change and impact on these communities that are needed.
Results happening?
And that's why we have so many people, you know, that a groundswell of people who are following our organizations, because we're authentic and really do the work.
Absolutely, we do the work. I mean, we. No questions asked, we are the ones doing the work. I mean, you cannot, what we had last Sunday for our community cleanup and canvas was a dream for us in terms of being organizers. We had 300 people pre-register for this canvas, right? But over 600 people showed up.
Oh my goodness.
That's like just the
and that was for tornado relief.
For tornado relief. I mean, we tapped into, you know, folks wanting to help, but also that was, we trained over 500 new canvassers who now know how to go door to door and knock. That's a part of getting into the process of politically engaged.
So, I mean, it wasn't more, when you say go door to door, and I group that with tornado stuff, it's not just that though, it's that this can continue to go forward.
Unfortunately, coronavirus kind of disrupted a little bit of our operations, because what we wanted to do is come back every Sunday and do some sort of event to help North Nashville. This past Sunday, we had to switch to doing things digitally since we are now social distancing ourselves. So we did a text bank to all of the doors that we knocked, and we called and phone text banked everyone who said they needed something. Today we went out and did delivery. So this next coming Sunday, we wanted to do a census door-to-door campaign and really make sure that those families that may be getting displaced, they know about the census. So that's a real concern of ours, is how is this displacement and disruption going to impact the census count for Nashville.
For a community that needs the resources, that's what the census is about, being counted, so those resources can come. I want to take a pause in our conversation here real quick and go to Mac. Mac, thank you for holding there for a second. What's your question or comment?
I had a question. You know, last week Mr. Reverend Fuzz called in there talking about turning the Hadley Park into the pool for the black community only. I was wondering if that was going to be an option.
Could you repeat it more to the pool? I'm sorry.
Mac, repeat your question again.
Reverend Fuzz come on there and talk about turning the Hadley Park into a pool for the black community only.
Have you guys heard of anything about that?
No. I have not, no.
It was on the Channel 5 Plus. It's on the same channel.
I don't think I was part of that show, but I know that Reverend Fuzz often watches, so if he is watching, I invite you to call in and talk a little bit about that, Reverend Fuzz. We'd love to hear from you. So, Mac, thank you. We'll see if Reverend Fuzz is watching and calls in tonight if he has time to do that.
I will say, though, the Hadley Regional Center does have a pool there. So, I mean, it's not for African Americans only. Everyone is welcome to come to it. I mean, our Metro Parks system here is wonderful.
Really great.
And so, I mean, yeah, they have some of the best public swimming pools in the city, but I don't know right now, given the pandemic, if it's the best place to be. But once all of this passed, yeah, go check out the pool at Hadley Park and have a great time.
You guys talked a little bit about how efforts are changing a little bit because of the coronavirus, because it has to right now. But talk about just heaping a whole nother level of stress on a community that is facing overwhelming stress and anxiety already.
Yeah.
How are folks managing?
I would say that I think this pandemic has humanized everyone. You know, a lot of times the economic issues are what separate a predominantly African American neighborhood from any other neighborhood, right, or any community of color. But right now, I think the hurt that you're having in North Nashville is the same anywhere else. It's just exacerbated by what we were talking about earlier. You know, it's a house is more than a house. It's a home, and it has a lot of meaning behind that,
refuge,
right?
shelter.
Yeah, it's refuge, it's your identity, it's your memory, it's your memorabilia. All those things go into what we call home. That's why we defend it so much, right? So patriotism is built off of what we identify as home. So with that said, you know, now that you have a lot of people who've been displaced because of tornado, whether they owned or rent, now on top of that, you have this pandemic that is swept through a community that probably needs to be tested more than ever because so many hands have been in with good intentions trying to touch this community. You don't know what's going to happen now. You got school out to April 3rd. April 3rd, school is out. So, you know, you got the stress of having children at home and trying to cope with that on top of the mental stress that we haven't even thought about. You know, the tornado alone caused a lot of trauma for people that we haven't even been able to handle because we're trying to handle the physical needs of it. But the mental trauma on top of that, children sometimes don't process that, and a lot of adults, you know, I'm taking deep breaths all the time trying to think about going through it, and I got lucky and missed the big after, you know, trauma of it, but, you know, still hits as a community.
Yeah, you know, I hope this is also maybe an opportunity, not necessarily for the residents, but for our community leaders in our government, because I mean, this is taking us down through there. Between the storm and coronavirus, like, it's really exposing our gaps in policy, how we don't have a safety net in this city for people who don't have health insurance, who don't have a savings account to really kind of weather this crisis. And so I hope this is an opportunity for community leaders to see how we can make some policies around, you know, working at home, working remotely, you know, giving paid sick time to folks, or even like passing Medicaid. That would be great. You know, expanding Medicaid in this state would give people access to health care, you know, in case they get sick and have to take off work. So it could be a blessing in disguise, but I really do, my heart goes out to everyone who's having to deal with picking up the pieces.
There's a lot of suffering.
There's a lot going on
between that time. Let's get to Mary real quick before we have to take a break. Mary, thanks for calling in tonight. What's your question or comment?
Okay, my comment is that the FEMA requires that those who have been affected by the tornado, that they go online to register first. However, my comment is that the FEMA...
I know it gets kind of confusing with your TV up in the background, so just turn that down and then go ahead with your question.
So the comment is this. A lot of people don't have access, number one, to internet. Number two, they're not internet or computer savvy, nor do they have smartphones. So what I would suggest, along with my comment, is that there's a type of call center, and I would be willing to volunteer to coordinate that so that we could help the community, because I see there's a great demand for that, because I was one of the ones who organized for the hot food in the different locations throughout North Nashville.
Great, thank you, Mary.
So I believe there is a hotline that you can call. The Disaster Assistance Centers at Hadley Park does offer that assistance, and they're supposed to be able to come to you as well if you don't have internet access.
Yeah, I know that through our reporting, we have said that the response will be fastest if you go through the app or online, but we have given it out many times. There is a FEMA hotline to call, so people can do it just the old-fashioned way as well, and that's the way it's been done for decades. So, but there are places set up if you all have seen.
Yeah, you go talk in person.
Yeah, exactly. You can talk to them in person as well. And you say, from what you've seen, it seems to be working. Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. I was told that there's about a 24-hour turnaround on hearing back from your application, but you know, give it a try. Let's government do its thing, and let's see. Okay,
we have to take a quick break, but Reverend Fuzz is on the line. So Reverend, stay where you are, and we'll get to you right after this break. Stay with us.